All right, welcome into a Friday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here from the UDL, presented by Ghost Chevrolet every day, GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Remember, online you can find them there. They're all around the capital city, right here on Sherwood Forest and Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales, and out in LaPlace, Louisiana, you can find them. Easy to find them online at GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Often moving on this Friday, we'll talk about the Derek Stingley situation for LSU. He is not going to play this Saturday versus Mississippi State.
Works.
You wonder how much that will impact them here in preparation late in the game week. We will talk to Ben Mintz about some of the games that are standing out this weekend, as he will give us a six-pack of winners from Barstool Sports. Mintzy up there in New York City will stop by at 8 a.m. Nathan Velasquez will stop by here at 8:30. We got a text into Ross Dellinger. He was going to stop by at some point. Tell us about this scholarship. See the scholarship going from 25 to 32. They're allowing with the transfer portal, kind of giving you 1-for-1 all the way up to 7 scholarships that you can add onto your recruiting class, to your signing class. They could go up to 32.
Well, that's what Shea's been preaching, right? He's been like, I don't understand how you can get, because he was talking about the tight end that signed with the team, came here for a day, and then left. And he's like, I mean, you're kind of getting, you're screwing the football team over a little bit by not allowing extra scholarships when that happens, because the player can go wherever he wants, but then you can't reciprocate that scholarship to somebody else. So it seems like the right move.
Yeah. No, it's and it's a compromise. I think coaches and ADs were asking for a 35-member signing class, and the NCAA came back and is now extending or giving a little bit more leeway to the 25-man class each signing period, as they'll extend that to 32. Coming up, Daniel Glenn says he finds it disturbing that Mike Leach, however it goes for him at Mississippi State, never had to face Derek Stingley on the field. Lucky bastard. Leach, the pirate.
Working some voodoo, dude.
I mean, some magic against LSU. A bad scenario for, first and foremost, Derek Stingley Jr. here, obviously, and Ed Ogeron made some comments yesterday afternoon when he met with the press. And remember, daily, our coffee is brought to you by Majestic Coffee, that is locally brewed here in South Louisiana. That is online at delicioussips.com. True Blue Water, TRUBluewater.com is how you can get on the route today. If you want to get on the delivery route, hit them up online at TRUBluewater.com. Our phone lines via our guest today, or our guest via the phone lines, are brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group, Real Doctors, Real Solutions, Charlie Harvey, Jason Ramazan, the entire crew over at Metro Health. Get in touch with them today online at Metropolitan Health Group. And our official spice here on the Jordy Culotta Show is Papa Earl's. Our friend, old Pop, is a proud supporter here of the Jordy Culotta Show. 30% less sodium than the other guys, and you can find them all locally. Rouse's, High Neighbor, Calandro's. Get in touch with, or find a bottle today locally right here in South Louisiana. Papa Earl's, official spice of the Jordy Culotta Show. All right, the Stingley news sucks, man. First and foremost, right, for the kid. I hate this for Derek Stingley Jr. This is the season that really we have all anticipated in watching him play, and some of us have been watching him play since he's been in high school over at the Dunham School here in Baton Rouge, and really you could see it early on how special of a player he was going to be. His freshman season at LSU might go down as one of the best rookie seasons on any side of the ball for LSU, and the way that he performed on that national championship team last year. It was up and down, injuries, some freak things off the field that kept him from playing, and then this season looks like his junior season is going to be cut short, at least by the latest game. And I can tell you, with some of the people that I've spoke to, I don't know if this could move into a long-term scenario and possibly go into an all-year type situation where we may have seen Derek Stingley play his last game at LSU, when you just think what is on the line for Stingley, and potentially how long he could be out if a decision is going to be made ultimately to possibly just say, you know what, it's time to start getting ready for the next level, because there's just not enough time to get back on the field over at LSU. We'll wait and see, and we'll, as always, talk to Derek Stingley Sr. on Monday morning. We will talk a lot about, obviously, the scenario and situation surrounding his son. Derek will be on the sidelines this weekend versus Mississippi State. We'll ask him on Monday morning how much more we can anticipate seeing number 7 out there in the purple and gold. But obviously, it's a sucky story for him, man. I think first, a foot injury for a football player is scary in its own right, especially a skill player. When you're talking about a wide receiver, a running back, a quarterback, a defensive back, those guys that really obviously are hopping and bouncing around out there and relying on their skill set to keep them fast, to keep them agile, to keep them athletic. And for that to let you down is a scary scenario early on in the season. I think this is an injury that popped up during training camp on Stingley. And it was an injury that really kept him out of training camp practice. And I want to say that Stingley did not practice with LSU for the first time until they were moved to Houston in their preparation for UCLA. And that was the first piece of action that he really got on the field because of this injury that has kind of popped back up again here going into week 4. So I think that it's probably safe to say, or it feels as if it is safe to say that this injury could keep Derek Stingley Jr. off the field eternally at LSU. And that's just the feeling I get from people that I have talked to. And I know that there's some information and a process in where they are seeking more information and trying to get as much info as possible as they can from the best in the world, the most experts at the specific medical, it's at the medical expertise that they need in dealing with this injury, and are taking all of that into account. So for the life of Derek Stingley on the football field, it sucks. It really does. I mean, I hate to think that anybody out there would try to paint this as if he's quitting on the team, as if he is stepping away, as if he's opting out, as if he's taking a leave from his team. And I know that there is people out there that will spin it like that, but it's not the case. I mean, I think that he is legitimately hurt and has an injury that, if it's not rehabbed correctly, could spike up at any point and possibly end your career. And when there's the potential of $30 to $35 million guaranteed on the table just 6 months from now, you have to take everything into account. You have to be very smart about it. You've got to think logically. You can't think. You can't think through a fan's perspective, and I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear, but it's the truth. And I think if Derek Stingley could play, he would play. And I think that he knows that there is a decision that has to be made to secure his future. And for that to happen, he's got to make sure that he rehabs and get this foot correctly, or brought back correctly and rehabbed to a point where, he can tell NFL general managers, owners, scouts, decision makers that he's good to go. And he has to have that medical background behind that to confirm it. So I think that is really the initiative here, and that's really kind of the perspective of where it's coming from.
Well, I just want to say, if anybody is questioning what or why, if he's sitting out for professional purposes, like, that's clearly not the case. And what would you do in this scenario? Like, ask yourself that question. If you got hurt and you had $35 million on the table, in the next 6 months, would you risk the rest of your football life to play for a college football team when you're hurt? or would you sit out? Like, ask yourself that question realistically, and it seems like you could come to a pretty easy answer. So there's no real reason to criticize in this scenario, because if the injury is what it seems to be and it's causing him to sit out, I mean, there's really no reason for him to play if it's something that's could continually get worse if he was just playing college football. Like, you have to think about the long term and what you would do in this scenario if you were yourself. So it's really a no-brainer.
It is when you talk about it just kind of logically.
Logically.
You know
what
I mean?
would you do in the exact same scenario? I wouldn't play football.
Right. Well, and it's a legitimate injury. You know what I mean? It's something that you have to take seriously and get right. And I think the timetable for this to really be brought back correctly, if it's rehabbed without surgery, would be somewhere around like 6 to 8 weeks. And at that point,
college football's over.
It really is. You know, and I mean, for Stingley, if you know, God forbid, he has to have surgery on this thing, I mean, he's out for a potential of 6 to 7 months. You know, I mean, that's the combine. I mean, that's the draft. I mean, that's everything that he's worked pretty much his entire life for, that could be wiped away with, you know, an injury that he sustained on the field. So none of this stuff is fake. None of this stuff is opt-out stuff. None of this stuff is walking away. None of this stuff is quitting. You know, you'll see Derek Stingley Jr. Around the football team. He'll be on the sidelines. He'll be going through the rehab, and he'll be going through all of what he is you know, supposed to be doing to get back through LSU. So, you know, I hate it for Derek Stingley Jr. I hate it for LSU football. I don't think that it could have come at a worse time when you talk about who's on the schedule. I mean, when you really take a step back. Now, I still think that LSU wins the game against Mississippi State. I still think that they're a better football team and that they have been really just pounded over the head of last year's game, where you got to imagine that they're going to be prepared for what Mike Leach is ready to throw at them. But taking Derek Stingley off of the practice field on Thursday of game week, on Wednesday of game week, when you've been preparing, preaching, video watching, and installing, that is a setback. You know, I mean, that is an absolute setback when you just say it out loud and say, man, we've been practicing all week with Sting, and now midweek through, he's out of the game plan and not playing. So, I mean, you know, next guy up is Dwight McGlothern, who, you know, we talked about last week, had really good reps in his first action of 2021. But now you're the starting cornerback in the first week of SEC play on the road at Davis Wade against a team that really is looking to chop up the defensive backfield for LSU like they did last season.
Right, because wasn't the narrative last year, if you have Stingley and they're going to throw it 70 times, he's going to find one. He's going to get you one. You know, he'll be able to turn the ball over at least once if he's on the field. And it's not the fact that you're losing a starting corner, it's who you're losing at corner. Because his ability to basically lock down either one side of the field or one, you know, primetime player, that's what you're missing, is the fact that he was so good at what he does. And the drop-off, like as good as Dwight McGlothern might be, he's still not Derek Stingley Jr. So the fact that you're losing him at that position against this team, it's more of who you lost, not what you lost.
Absolutely. And I think that Dwight McGlothern is
good.
Is ready to bust out.
I mean, we're talking all world.
Sure, you are. But I think he's good enough to step in here and be a starting cornerback in the SEC. You're about to find out.
I mean, I've read this book before.
You can't hide from Mike Leach, and you can't hide from the Mississippi State offense.
I mean, the game plan just changed, right? If you're Mike Leach, like,
I don't know, does it?
I mean, I think you go to the 2020 playbook and go, let's see if some of these things work, and Derek Stingley wasn't there on their defense.
Well, I definitely say, you know, I mean, last year Darren Evans was the guy who was picked on because of Stingley's absence, and this year Dwight McGlothern is going to be a target for Mike Leach. I mean, he is going to make sure number 2 knows that they know about him.
Coming at you.
Yeah, right. Like, they know this is the first start for your second season. You've been out with injury. We're going to see if you're ready to play. Because Mike Leach, in my opinion, that's what he does. I mean, he is basketball on grass. He's looking for the weakest link. He's looking for the biggest mismatch that favors Mississippi State's offense. And it might not be Dwight McGlothern, but he's going to make sure it's not, because he's the one that's been inserted into the lineup here, you know, Thursday of game week, 48 hours before the thing kicks off, And, while everybody was expecting 7 to go.
Well, and he'll find that weak link. If it's not 2, if it's not McLaughlin, there's a break in the chain at some point because you were so set at what you had at Stingley and Ricks on the outside. And then when you move that, you have to move, the pieces get shuffled up. And so Mike Leach will find whatever piece that comes on the field that usually doesn't play that often because that's what's going to happen because you lost your starter at cornerback, and then he has no shame whatsoever in calling the same play over and over and over again to the point where you just feel like, how is he doing this? He doesn't care. He'll run the same play 18 times in a row if it's working.
Oh, absolutely. Well, like last year's press conference to me was football gold. He came in and said, we ran 5 plays, guys. You know what I mean? It was like, it wasn't as if we were rewriting, rocket launches. It was that we were just seeing what was working, and we said, until they get out of it, until they make the adjustments, we're running the same stuff. And it was very basic football. It was football 101 that Mike Leach beat you on last year in Tiger Stadium. I wonder what the plan will be on Saturday. You'd imagine that it'll be a little bit similar to what it was last year, just to see, right?
That's what I'm saying. He's blowing off 2020's playbook just to see what we got here because it's the exact same scenario. Stingley's missing, 2 days before the game. Last year it was 1 day before the game. So he's like, okay, like I said, I've read this book before. I know exactly what Mike Leach is thinking. And he's like, all right, a little bit of shuffle on the game plan here, boys. Y'all remember what we did. And then, new quarterback, though. But on the defensive side, you just hope it looks completely different, right? Like, you can't do the exact same thing you did last year because that would cause the UCLA pandemonium all over again.
Oh, it could. If they go to Starkville and get beat with the same game plan as 2020, it would be the death nail of Ed Ogeron. Really and truly. It would be a devastating blow. It would be so tough to come back from that if they go to Starkville. Now, they may go to Mississippi State and lose, and it may come down to a field goal, and it may be a tight game. But if you go there and you get beat on crossing routes where you got guys looking to the sidelines with their hands in the air and confusion pre-snap, which I thought they looked a lot better on that stuff last weekend. They looked a lot more tight and organized and were communicating. They were on the same page, right? It was nobody got lost or busted in coverage. There was nobody running by themselves. So they've obviously paid a lot of attention to those details inside of the facility over there and have gotten that stuff right. But, Mike Leach can confuse you pretty quick. And just kind of what you're looking at, he's going to be running people in all different directions. He's going to be running guys from this side to the backside opposite. He's going to be running backs out of the backfield. He's going to be running tight ends down the seam. He's going to be running people to the post. He's going to be running people everywhere. And LSU's just got to be organized and be able to see it and ready to play. Because last year, that was the most concerning part was that the fact that, you couldn't make any adjustments, but then it was very basic elementary stuff where you just had to get into a zone, just tell somebody to sit and play an area. And, the head coach gets to the podium afterwards and says, we didn't have that installed. It was like, you've had 3 extra weeks of practice due to COVID. What's been going on?
Just 1 day. Can we take a day to just in case? Can we do a little cover 4, drop 8? Can we do anything like that? No, we're just going to go run man, and then you lose your best man coverage guy. And you know what? We're going to stick to it and see what happens. And you saw what happened. It's just, like you said, if that's the way that it goes, if it turns out to be another Mississippi State just making you look like you couldn't be more lost on defense, then it is probably a death knell for Orgeron. But I say that only to say that they will score and there will be plays where people are wide open, but that's only because it doesn't have to be a freak out every time it happens. Because they run air raid where they're throwing it 70 times a game, somebody's going to bust loose.
Well, and that's the games that I wonder how LSU responds in, and that's what my biggest question going into the weekend about LSU is, because they are going to have pressure on the offense to score. Mississippi State is going to make them score to compete in this game. And if LSU cannot establish any type of presence at the line of scrimmage, then it could be a long day for them on Saturday. And the fact of, if there's no response to Mike Leach putting up points, which is going to happen. Would they throw it 70 times last weekend?
They're going to score 35 points.
They are going to put
35.
so much pressure on you offensively to either play keep up or try to pull away and establish enough points that you're going to be able to compete with them, that I wonder how LSU offensively responds. You have seen them respond. You have seen them make adjustments. You have seen them make strides over the past couple of weeks in getting the play in quicker, in the progressions that Max Johnson is going through as the quarterback, whether it be, just starting here and getting all the way across the field and hooking up with his fourth option or his fourth guy in the read. All of that stuff has gotten better. I mean, last week, the way that they were taking shots down the field and trying to make explosive plays obviously was a very positive for him. But one thing that has been common throughout this first couple of weeks of the season is that they have not been able to run the football. And if you take that formula, offensively, anywhere in the SEC, you could get beat. Anywhere in the Southeastern Conference. You could take that stuff to South Carolina. Everywhere excluding Vanderbilt is going to give you a hell of a Saturday if you can't establish any type of presence running the football. And LSU has shown through the first couple of weeks of the season that they just can't do it. I mean, they have tried different rotations of offensive linemen. They've tried different rotations of running backs. Now it seems like they found their guy in the backfield in Kiner, and you'll get Goodwin back. And there was no announcement on John Emery yesterday, so you anticipate maybe today the news comes down.
A little Saturday 9 a.m. announcement.
Possibly.
Again.
Possibly.
But isn't that the biggest crux of what LSU is going into on Saturday, where they have to be able to run the football? Otherwise, you're playing Mississippi State's game. If you're going to get into a pissing contest of who can throw the ball for more yards, I mean, that lines up in Mississippi State's favor. Like, LSU has the better athletes, but Mississippi State has the game plan that's their game. You're going to run into, if you run into an air raid matchup where they're throwing it 68 times and LSU's throwing it 55 and running the ball for 15 times for 35 yards, like, those are wasted downs almost because they're not getting you anywhere. And LSU, time and time again, has proven they can't establish the run. And I think the most important thing is what they do defensively. And if they get down quick, like if Mississippi State can hit you fast, it changes what you have to do on offense. And it might change what they do on defense because they're adamant on running a 4-down front. And that almost leaves you with not enough defensive backs on the field for what Mississippi State's going to do, because the way that they run the ball is throwing it to their running back, who at number 7 has phenomenal hands. He's great out of the backfield. But they don't run the ball like LSU tries to do. They don't even try to establish it.
Well, I mean, they're going to have to do that this weekend.
LSU has to.
They have to.
But that's how you fall behind quickly if you get into 3rd and 8s multiple times and then punt it back to Mississippi State, and it's 7-0, 10-0, 17-7, and you're just like, well, we're going to have to throw it. You're going to have to start playing the way that Mississippi State wants to play in a road environment where it can get sticky quick. Yes,
and that is my biggest concern going into Saturday at Davis Wade Stadium is the ability or the lack thereof LSU has shown early on in the season in being able to establish a run attack for their offense to take some pressure off of the play caller, the quarterback, all of the skill guys. And, the offensive linemen, it really is gotten to a time where it's now or never for them. Either you have to perform and step up, or LSU's season is in dire straits, really. I mean, if they have no semblance of an offensive line that you can count on from a consistent standpoint where you're just kind of shuffling and hoping every week, crossing your fingers, let's try another guy here. I mean, they've got open competition the week of SEC play at left tackle. Now, I know that's not the blind side of your quarterback, but that's still one of the anchors of your lines of on the line of scrimmage. And you got open competition there on Wednesday of game week going into Mississippi State. And that stuff has to resolve itself in-house quick. I mean, somebody's got to find out who's the best 5, put them out there, and they've got to start playing together, communicating together, gelling together, and, having some type of impact on the game.
And it's something that I don't think I pay enough attention to when we're watching the amount of shuffling that does go on the offensive line. The fact that you're deciding on game week and on a Wednesday or Thursday of who's going to play is unbelievable, because they're gonna do a bunch of different situations where you're gonna see almost hockey ships on the offensive line, dude. It's gonna be a mess if it doesn't work out the first series, and then you'll see people trying to plug and play like they've almost done all year, because the only test they've really had on the offensive line was UCLA, and that was a disaster. This is a massive step up in competition from McNeese and Central Michigan, where they still had breakdowns, but against any SEC front, it could get bad quick, especially with Nick Arnett, who knows a little bit about LSU.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Firing up the air conditioner. But against like a Mississippi State, Nick Arnett, who got Mississippi State to the top 5 defense in the SEC last year in only 1 year. Like, he's going to dial up some things that's going to confuse the offensive line because they have no continuity.
Yeah, well, I mean, LSU's offensive line shows vulnerability on tape.
Everywhere
right?
you
I
look.
mean, there are defensive coordinators around the country that are just salivating, waiting on LSU.
Raise.
Yes. I mean, they're going to bring those colors in here. And, I mean, I can do this against the purple and gold. I can do this against LSU on the helmet. I'm going to get myself a job here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing goes. I mean, I've seen Garrett Dellinger's name being popped around a lot this week as somebody who could get out there. I am still just amazed at like guys like Marcus Dumerville, and I know Anthony Bradford has played some snaps, and I know we've talked about Cardell Thomas. Thomas Perry is a guy that we just don't hear about from Turtlings Catholic. It is now or never for LSU's offensive line. They have got to establish some type of presence on the game and take the pressure off of the play caller and the quarterback to get LSU a chance here with Southeastern Conference play starting 24 hours from now, 11 a.m. kickoff. Roe and I will be with you following the game, fourth quarter on. We'll do the fourth quarter. I promise now that the studio is set up, the UDL is set up, and we're all set to go on Saturday. So we'll be here and we'll react to LSU on the road tomorrow starting SEC play. Remember, daily, we're brought to you by RMB Builders. Get in touch with our friend Rhett Bourgeois, who has done incredible work for a lot of the people here on the show, and we speak very glowingly about the service, about the organization, and about the product, about the work that Rhett Bourgeois and his crew do over at RMB Builders. RMB-Builders is where you find them, and they've got all types of options for you. If you want to choose a custom-made home, they can knock that out for you. If you need a remodel and you want to reestablish something that you have over at the house and build it back up, let Rhett and the crew hand it for you. Handiwork that you need done around the house, or if you want a just total demo and rebuild the house, let Rhett and help you. Rhett Bourgeois and the crew help you out over there. They're commercially licensed, so they can help you out in the corporate world as well. RMB-Builders.com. RMB-Builders.com is where you find them. And get in touch with them. Tell them you heard them here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Last night, Carolina downs Houston. May have came at an expense, as I just saw somebody inside of the huddle. Is that that's our guy Rock Lee that's pointed out a loyal listener over in Atlanta, Georgia. Good morning to our Georgia listeners this morning. But J.C. Horn, the first-round pick last night for the Carolina Panthers, left the game. Looks like he has a broken foot. Very similar to what some of the LSU fans are dealing with their top cornerback going down with a foot injury. And J.C. Horn, who has been a very bright spot for Carolina's top-ranked defense in the league through the first couple of weeks of the season, goes down last night. So that's probably the first major injury in the NFC South when you talk about that competitive group of the Bucs, the Saints, the Panthers that you've had in season. I know that the Saints are playing without Mike Thomas right now, but
you're missing the lead here. Christian McCaffrey went out last night, popped a hamstring.
But he'll be back. I
don't know the severity of this thing with the way that they use him and how often that he gets touches. It seems like it's the second year in a row where he's been kind of out of commission for you. It has to add up to like usage rate at some point, because they get him the ball like he's in high school. They get it to him 30, 35 times a game, whether it be through the air or on carries. And it's the second time he's gotten hurt in 2 years. And a hamstring for a running back lingers forever.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no way to get around that. You either have to sit him for 4 weeks, and then as soon as he comes back, he can still pop that thing.
Yeah. So we'll wait and see what that has, the impact that it has on Carolina. And as we said, through the first 3 weeks of the season, Carolina 3-0 with the top defense in the league. But they lose their first-round draft pick last night, J.C. Horn and Christian McCaffrey, a a scratch there on game day, dealing with a hamstring injury. Sarah Almeida is inside of the bunker, and she is commenting on Derek Stingley, and she says, y'all are fine criticizing O, but not a player full of potential who has been hurt for like 2 years. Sarah, what do you want to criticize him on? That maybe he's injury prone? I guess that would be the knock, but I mean, do you expect him to go out there and play with potentially a broken foot? I mean, really? I know that you are a diehard LSU fan and that you want to see LSU play at its best, and you want them fully equipped every time they go out there. But you can't ask these guys to do stuff that they're just incapable of doing. And Derek Stingley would be out there playing. Why do you, coming off of last week's game, the way he played, where he played really well, physical, caused the fumble, played really well in coverage, you think he's looking for a reason to opt out? He's not trying to not play football. He wants to continue to lay down film and give all general managers, all scouts, all owners of NFL teams as much data and as much information as he can, because he potentially is a top 5 pick, which could guarantee him $30 to $35 million. And if there's a broken foot, potentially a broken foot, that has to be paid attention to and rehabbed, what do you expect him to do? I am all for criticizing people who deserve criticism. But what am I missing on Stingley? That people are saying that he's soft and he's got a broken foot. I mean, his foot could be broken. What do you expect a cornerback to do on a broken foot? I mean, really? I mean, I'm not sitting here, banging the cross for this guy, but I mean, this goes for any player. A wide receiver, a defensive back, a running back, anybody. I mean, you really believe that Derek Stingley is trying to sabotage LSU or sabotage his future over just skipping football games? You don't think that he's legitimately, you don't think that there's guys inside that locker? He lives with Cardell Flott. You think he wants to go home every day to somebody that thinks he's quit on the team? Think he wants to go into a locker room every day where everybody's looking at him saying, you can go, but you're not going? I mean, he's got a boot on his foot. He's walking with crutches. He's waiting on x-rays to come back for a potential decision of, will he have surgery or not? I mean, he didn't quit on his team. He's not opting out. You can debate all you want out there whether or not he's soft, but I can tell you that he is going to be a top 3 to 5 pick in the NFL draft because of how good of a football player he is. And LSU, at some point, we're going to have to step back and say, look, the story on Stingley may not have been scripted like everybody wanted it to be, where you just got 3 years of dominant play. But you got a freshman season that'll go down as maybe the best ever. And after that, there were spots where he was great, but you just didn't see him enough. But he gave you 1 year on a championship season that he was the best cornerback in college football. He was the best freshman that this conference has seen at that position. And after that, it just got real quirky. I mean, he stepped on a chain at Missouri and did something to his groin. He had the episode but the night before the Mississippi State game, and then in his junior season, he's got a foot injury. So, yeah, all in all, it sucks. But he's not quitting on anybody. He's not sabotaging anything. He's not, in my opinion, really, he's not playing the I game. He's not saying it's about me. He's making sure that if he can go, I mean, that he wants to be at his best. You can't ask him to go on what could potentially be a broken foot. It's not going to work. And it's unfair to really criticize him to the point of you believe that he's quitting on the team. You can debate all you want whether or not he's soft. He's not soft. He ain't soft. But you can debate all you want on whether or not he is out there in the public. What we can't debate this morning is him quitting on the team. He's not quitting on the team. The dude is hurt. And the timeline may run into a point where you say, hey, look, the best business decision for Derek Stingley may just to be that money, keep it secured, and get ready for that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to come back to college football when you're still unhealthy, not right at 100%. You're still out there maybe just kind of guessing a little bit. You know what? It's not worth it. Maybe it gets to that point, but right now it's not. Kid's hurt. Can't go, can't play. If he could play, he would play.
If it was any other player on the LSU roster, do you think there's even a debate about whether he's soft or not? If you have a broken foot, nobody would expect you to go, but because of who he is and what the fan base expects of Stingley and how this narrative is played out, because people think he's soft after a UCLA tackle where he tries to rip the ball out as opposed to push somebody, tackle somebody to the ground inside the 5 when they're down 14. Like, if it's any other player on the LSU roster, this is a non-debate. They're like, oh, he broke his foot, he's out. It's just because it's Stingley.
And I know Sting Sr. got some criticism for his spot here the Monday after the UCLA game.
That was a frustrated parent.
That was a frustrated dad. That was a dad that was out airing out his thoughts into the public. But it was a dad that had surfed some message boards and had seen some stuff of what, part of the fan base. And look, Sarah, I respect, I'm not by any means coming at you, but with that take of him quitting on his team and him not giving everything that he can to LSU. And that was the frustration that Sting Sr. was voicing 3 weeks ago here on this platform. But it's also, and I saw it somewhere, sure, Brandon Hollingsworth, this is why Louisiana kids go to Alabama, because of the fans like this. And it's, look, that's dramatic, that's heightened, but there is a sense of that to it. Right? Where as soon as the opportunity to bail on somebody, they're gone. And I'm not saying that that's why you lose all of the kids, but there is a sense of that plays. You know what I mean? And in the same sense, when you step out there in front of 100,000, you open yourself up for criticism. You open yourself up to the public for them to talk about you. So I understand that part of it. But to debate this morning on whether or not Derek Stingley Jr. quit on his team is it doesn't make sense. It's a broken argument because it's not factual. The kid is hurt. And he potentially could be hurt for an extended amount of time that may cause him to miss the rest of the season at LSU. And if that happens, it is not because he's quitting on his team. It's not because he's looking out for him. It's because he's legitimately hurt.
Why is that so hard to believe?
I don't know. We're brought to you daily by Falaya Real Estate, online at falaya.com. You can download the app at the Google and Apple Android stores. That's not right. Google Android and Apple stores. Download the Falaya app. Is that still not right? Remember,
the first time.
Falaya is changing the way that you buy and sell real estate here in the Baton Rouge area. You can get, in fact, in the entire state of Louisiana. We had a listener email into Barrett Blondo who had heard the ad up in Shreveport, Louisiana, had used Falaya's services and was very impressed with the way that the business was handled. Find out for yourself over at falaya.com. Get in touch with Barrett Blondo as he can help you out selling your house. It is for sale by owner on steroids. It's do it yourself in the real estate world. They've got virtual offers, push button offers. They've got 3D tours, all of that they can offer over at falaya.com. Find out today, falaya.com, as they are changing the way that real estate is bought and sold here in the Louisiana market.
I don't have anything to add.
You're looking at me like you have a take.
No, I'm just you sell your own house if you want. Be your own boss.
Sarah Almeida, Fournette was hurt too, right? No, Fournette was not hurt. Ed Orgeron told Fournette when he got the job that you're off the team. He wasn't taking him to the bowl game because Les Miles had created a set of rules for the team, and there was a set of rules for Leonard Fournette. Not Leonard Fournette's fault, but Fournette would show up to, for instance, team trips and travel where it was mandated that you had to wear a suit and ties. And he would show up in jeans and a collar. But he was still able to get on the plane. People were able to see that. There was a rule that you couldn't have any family members. Nobody on the outside was allowed in the locker room. Routinely, Fournette would have a cousin or a dad inside the locker room. People saw that stuff. When Ed Orgeron got the job as the interim coach, some stuff went down in the locker room that he didn't like. He told Fournette, you've done enough for the program. We'll take it from here. That's the true story on Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette didn't opt out of that game. Leonard Fournette was told that he can't play in that game. So, I mean, we can debate those stories all you want, on kids quitting and kids opting out and doing that stuff. Stingley hadn't quit. Stingley's going to be on the sidelines with the team on Saturday. He's flying on the plane today. He'll be on the sidelines next Saturday night versus Auburn if he doesn't play. He'll be on the sidelines versus Ole Miss at the end of October if he doesn't play. He's not quitting on his team. It's just not happening. I know you want to believe that. I know that in your fans' heart and in your fans' mind that you can't get over the fact that he's not playing without some juicy story of him quitting, opting out, or looking out for himself. Kid's got a bum foot. Can't backpedal. Can't turn out of a backpedal into a sprint. If you can't do that at defensive back, it doesn't matter what name's on the back of your jersey. You got to get that stuff right, and that's where he is.
That's his moneymaker.
Yes. He's got to get his wheel right. All right, coming up at 8 o'clock this morning, we're going to talk to Ben Mintz. Mintzy's going to give us a six-pack of winners coming up this weekend. We're also going to talk to him about that Mississippi State LSU line. Has Stingley's presence affected that at all? LSU was a 3-point favorite for a lot of the week.
Got down to 2.5 yesterday.
I had seen it at 4.
That's what it opened. Opened at 4.
It opened at 4, got to 3.5.
Down to 3. Now it's at 2.5, and I wonder if it gets to
a pick'em.
I would say that Stingley is worth, especially everything that happened in 2020. I would say that this could be, but we also might be too close to it. We might know more than your average, I guess, Vegas bookmaker to know how impactful Stingley is. Like, they know that he's good, but they don't know how much he actually does for the defense, because you have to really look at, he doesn't show up on the stat sheet because he's doing lockdown coverage. It's 0 pass attempts for 0 yards, so it's hard to quantify what he actually does for the football team. And that's why I think a lot of people are even frustrated with Stingley, because, what's he doing? Why doesn't he have 6 interceptions anymore? Because they don't know not to throw at him. Why would you even test the guy? Because he's always around the football. So I don't know how much it'll impact the line, but I'll check.
I think Vegas has to know if the best cornerback in college football is not playing. You know what I mean?
I don't know how to quantify that as
I don't either, but I got to imagine that they know that storyline. You know what I mean? They've been privy on that since that news has started to break, and they are now formulating. They're baking that into their evaluation of the game tomorrow.
The over went up by 0.5 point.
Okay, there you go.
So he's worth a possession.
Okay, yeah. So it's 2.5.
No, the over. It was 56.
Is the number still 2.5?
Yep.
2.5 and 56.
Yep.
God, the over feels like
And this feels like such a trap, though.
It does feel like a trap. It's kind of a stinky line.
It is. All of it is, and I don't know which way.
It really is. I mean, it kind of is.
It stinks, but I don't know why. I don't know which way. It's just one of those that, what would you expect it to be if you didn't know? I thought the over would be at 62.
For sure. I thought it would be 60, 59.5, somewhere around there.
Am I getting got by taking the over?
But I thought it would have been a pick'em game, too. I thought it would have opened at a pick'em.
So that's the part that stinks. They think that they can goat people into taking LSU because of the brand still. I still think LSU wins. And, I mean, it's the same, it's 2020 all over again. When we're LSU will be fine without Stingley. They can still scheme this thing up and play fun. They shouldn't have to have like the pre-ultimate corner in college football, and they shouldn't have to use him for just one game. But then you saw what happened in 2020 when he wasn't there and everything went haywire. So it's hard not to take that into account because just how much he means to football on the defensive side for LSU.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I think that he definitely has an impact on the way that the game is evaluated by Vegas. I mean,
he has to.
He's too good. Now that opens up that side of the field. But I will say this. I think Dwight McGlothern is ready to bust out. I thought that he, at times, looked really good last year. And last week, I thought that his first piece of action, though it was against Central Michigan, I mean, he was bouncing and moving around. He was flying around out there. So while there is a drop-off, and I'm not saying that this is Stingley status, I do understand that they have recruited at a very high level at that position, and that Dwight McGlothern, even though he was signed as a safety, and is now making the transition.
That's not the first time Corey Raymond's done that, where he gets somebody.
Jay Ward goes from corner to safety.
But do you think that changes the game plan at all? Like, I would imagine that this is what I've always thought in my mind, that they just roll Stingley out there and say, 7, you're good. If it's zone, you're fine. If it's man, go find somebody who's torching us and roll him over there. So I would imagine that changes a little bit of what you have to do, because you can't treat McGlothern the same as you can treat Stingley. So.
One of the things that was pretty interesting in like hearing Durante Jones's early, just kind of the feedback from people around the LSU defense, from people like Sting Sr. that would tell us here that there was much more emphasis on defensive back game plans rather than playing man press and cover one and just putting those guys on an island and say, you take these two guys on the outside away, we'll handle everything in between the numbers. There's more of action in the defensive backfield that is kind of aligned with the entire defense, where Stingley was playing more scheme this year. I mean, he was rarely playing as much one-on-one, as much man as he has in years past, especially the first 2 years. And, in high school, they would just put him on the best player and say, lock him up. So he is, this defense has definitely evolved under Durante Jones into more of a scheming attack. So I don't know if there is really a heavy learning curve for Dwight McGlothern to buy into, as far as like the responsibility goes. I think that you don't put him on an island, obviously, like you would or you could with Stingley, but I think that this defense is much more oriented on scheme and attacking from a 11-man base rather than a 9-man base where you could put guys like Christian Fulton and Derek Stingley or Eli Ricks and Stingley just out there and say, hey, man, just shut it down.
The more I think about it, the more it's such a big loss for this game. He is so good and so impactful, and it just seems we're almost downplaying a little bit just because of the impact he can have, and it makes me nervous, man. It makes me nervous how this could go, because, we've had him. It's not like they've never practiced without him, like under this defense, so you need him, and he's not going to be able to go against Mississippi State because he's hurt, and to me, that's you can't downplay how good he is on the defensive side of the football. And to not have him, it's like missing almost a quarterback on the defense, just because of the position that he plays and the impact he can have and the calls that he makes on defense, because he understands the scheme probably more than anybody because of how he was raised and what he did coming up. It just seems like that he probably does a lot of communicating for the secondary that we miss and don't know about.
Who wants boudin for breakfast? Stop in at A-Bear Specialty Meats this morning over on Highway 73. Why not, bro? Friday. Weather couldn't get any better. Like, really and truly, I don't know if there could be a better day of weather that you could offer up in South Louisiana here in late September. Feels like football weather. Friday night, if you're heading out to do some Friday night tailgate, I know there's a big one tonight at Memorial Stadium with Warren Easton back in Baton Rouge after a win over Scotlandville. Edna Carr will be in town tonight taking on Scotlandville. Catholic High hosting Warren Easton over at Memorial Stadium. Anybody doing any tailgating for those games, stop by and see A-Bear Specialty Meats. They're over in Prairieville, Louisiana, Highway 73. You can stop in and grab some boudin like we talked about, some turducken. If you want to throw some stuff on the grill tonight, they got great selections of steaks, burgers, all pre-made for you. Stop in and grab them. Some of the Cajun favorites that they have in the freezer, gourmet turducken, andouille, etouffee, crawfish pie, and much more. Online, abearmarkets.com. Stop in and see them on Highway 73. And remember, if you're tailgating this weekend, whether it's a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, make A-Bears the home for your tailgate spot for all of the selections there. In fact, we were talking to Rhett Bourgeois, our friend over at RMB Builders, does an enormous tailgate over there behind the PMAC, kind of right in front of the gymnastics complex. And they have gone exclusive A-Bears this season. So all the meats, all the specialty meats that they are cooking and frying up and serving over at Rhett's spot is all from A-Bears, and we appreciate that greatly. Let A-Bears become exclusive for your tailgate. Get in touch with us over here, or get in touch with A-Bears over on Highway 73 in that Dutchtown Shopping Center. You can find them there. I'll reset, and I'll have Ben Mintz from Barstool Sports coming up here next as we'll get some six-pack of winners and look out for what's playing this weekend on the field. Next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU, bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU, bluewater.com. Some of the comments inside of the bunker this morning.
Unbelievable.
LSU fans on Derek Stingley Jr. Come on, man. I mean, really, let's try to fix this. At least this season going into the offseason. I mean, I know that this is going to happen in a lot of fan bases, but you can't spin on your best player, man. You can't come out and question, like, what really is the motive of somebody that is really hurt. He's not quitting on his team. I mean, he's not opting out. This is not good for LSU. I mean, I'm telling you, if you're a real LSU fan, I would block that stuff out of the way that you talk, at least publicly, about them, because all that stuff's going to get back to the players. It's going to get back to their, just the way that recruiting happens. And I know that's probably a hell of a fight to take on, because that's been happening for 100 years around LSU football. But at some point, you just have to say, look, man, that's a tough hand you were dealt on Stingley here in his junior season.
What good does it do? Do you think that your complaints are going to convince LSU players like, oh, wait, I heard criticism, so I'm going to go play on a broken foot, or I'll go play. I won't opt out because the fan base is going to get on me? Like, the easiest thing to do at that point is be like, kind of F this, I'm out. Like, why would I want to go play for people that they only want to cheer for me when I'm doing good and they don't really want to ride for who I am? Like, the team is built by the players. You don't root just for the colors. It's much different than the NFL or the NBA where, you know, players' allegiances are other places and they're looking for money. This is 100% they come here for the team, and you're basically disheveling it. But you're killing your own. You're killing the thing you hate the most. You love the most.
Right. I mean, it's tough to understand. Look, I know that passion is a dangerous fuel. Yes. I mean, I understand it. Look, man, it get the best of you, and many times it gets the worst of you. Good morning, Carpool Queen.
Getting a little heated up in here. I was trying to diffuse y'all from my.
It's all good, man.
It's
my
not
phone.
us. It's
no, I
just,
know everyone is, but I understand it.
It is a point of contention, man. I get it. Of course, everybody. I mean,
Totally
everybody wants to see him out there. Is that not it?
Yes.
They want the best for LSU. I get that. But sullying somebody's name is not the way to get there.
It is not the way
You're
to
supposed
get
to,
there.
like, you could be disappointed, but you can't be mad.
Well, disappointment sometimes transfers into anger for people for
sure.
a while, so that's okay.
We will get back into LSU, Stingley, and the entire stuff this weekend. Ben Mintz is coming up here in a couple of minutes. Anybody read this Christian Clark report over at NOLA.com on the state of the New Orleans Pelicans?
No.
Under David Griffin with Zion right now? I mean, look, I know it's...
forgotten about the Pelicans.
Yeah,
for
well,
a while,
get ready. They're about to come
I know.
back full front and center, and it ain't going to be good, or at least according to Christian Clark. A lot of the people within the organization have kind of spun on David Griffin, which we kind of talked about early on. He was caring a lot more about books and breathing methods than he was talking about players on the court and what, you know, everything was going to look like from getting Zion out there. And it turns out this thing with Zion has just gone completely south with the organization, at least reporting and according to Christian Clark over at NOLA.com. Griffin basically has no relationship with Zion. They basically don't speak. Zion is perceived to be out of shape from the organization standpoint. He has not shown up for any summer activities. It turns out he's over on Duke's campus, rolling around in a Rolls Royce, heading in and out of frat parties and college bars.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's 20. You know,
I mean,
you forget. I mean, he's 20.
It makes
And
sense.
probably couldn't be more popular.
I mean, I couldn't say
right?
at 20 with, I mean, millions in the account, thousands in my pocket, driving a Rolls Royce,
my
that I wouldn't go
God.
back to college for at least a semester. You know,
For
like
sure.
unenrolled, like
For
Zion is. You know, just for a summer. You know, just hang out.
That's where all the rumors came from that he's going back to college. He's like, no, I'm just here.
But it seems inevitable, and almost now the countdown seems to be on, that Zion is out. I mean, like, it looks like he's going to bail on this rookie extension. I don't think it's ever happened where a rookie has turned down the max rookie extension. This would be like the same one that Anthony Davis signed in the fourth year of his tenure with the Pelicans. But look, I know that this is football season, and I know that this is a football Friday, and everybody's looking forward to the weekend, and we're not going to spend an extended amount of time on the Pelicans and Zion. But in reading the latest from Christian Clark over at NOLA.com, I mean, this thing sounds like it is on fire in New Orleans with David Griffin, Zion, the relationship between the organization and just where they stand right now heading into another season with Zion Williamson as the face and really the marquee player of the franchise. So
The body. Yeah.
Katie, tell them about Jamar Simeon's painting while I get
Jamar
Mintz.
Simeon's painting.
Oh,
Can
I
y'all
get
see
Mintz
it? Am I in front of
He
it?
just gave everybody a good old
Best-
angle.
I know, right? The best ever. Go to our website. Like we said, you can still put in the code Jordy for 10% off. Prints start at $150. He's only printing and signing 1,000 copies. We have a pretty amazing copy here. He framed and matted it for us. And it was based on the 2019 football season, and he started it during quarantine. It's a super cool project. Go watch the video also on our website. If you go to jordyculotta.com, click on news, and then there's a YouTube video of him creating the painting and just spanning like the past 20 years of LSU football from his point as a fan. It's super cool. So go give it a look.
Ben Mintz is up at Barstool Sports. Mintzy has obviously been representing Louisiana, representing the SEC, South Louisiana, the South really up there at Barstool. Incredible, as he has been bringing great attention and light to some of the stuff that has come through South Louisiana, like benefits with Hurricane Ida T-shirts or growing the college baseball game. But my man makes his money throwing out winners for the gamblers out there. That's how this relationship started. That's how we continue to keep it going every Friday here in the Jordy Culotta Show when we head up to New York City and link up with our own Benjamin Mintz. Benny, how are you, buddy?
Jordy, just getting in that groove of football season. And it's 7 days a week, but, now that we're hitting – we're getting into it now. We're week 3 of NFL and week 4 of college, and feeling good about it. And obviously, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that after all the lean years Ole Miss has had, I'm certainly enjoying what's happened so far in college this year.
A great off week for Ole Miss. Even when they don't play, they get a little bit of attention, as Lane Kiffin was poking and prodding at Saban about the transfer portal and just talking about how the rich get richer. How do you feel 10 days out, or 9 days out, 8 days out of the LSU Bama, the Ole Miss Bama game? Jesus.
But the funny thing is it feels like an LSU Bama game. This one's so big. The funny thing about Kiffin poking at Saban, the transfer portal's kind of saved the Ole Miss defense too. The Chance Campbell, the linebacker from Maryland, who led the Big Ten in tackles with 11 a game last year, has been a just godsend and a game changer on defense. Also, Otis Reese, Georgia defensive back, has been huge too. So I think it's kind of like tongue-in-cheek, because Ole Miss is certainly going to that transfer portal too. It's kind of like college football free agency. Feel good. It's one of those things where, Jordy, I actually remember last year I watched Ole Miss Bama with you over at your house.
That's right.
And I just think when you look at last year's game, when Ole Miss was a 5-5 team, the fact that they were able to score 48 points and go up and down the field on Alabama, they all 63-48, has to make them feel good. You look at, Ole Miss's defense is a lot better and Bama's offense is worse. I'm not saying Ole Miss – I'm not coming on the show saying Ole Miss is going to beat Bama, but I do think that they've got a chance, and I think it's going to be a competitive game. And we're going to do a live stream with Dave and Big Cat next Saturday for it. And, man, I'm already counting down the days. You said 8 days. I started the 10-day countdown on my Twitter a couple of days ago. I'm just every day at some point I'm saying 10 days till Bama, 8 days till Bama. And it's also going to be the 1-year anniversary of the Kentucky video that I did in the Garden District of Baton Rouge that got me to Barstool. So
wow.
a lot of
That's the 1-year anniversary that day?
It's 364 days. The anniversary is Sunday.
Shit.
So yeah.
It's incredible how things have just aligned, bro.
Coming up Mincy.
It's just kind of the stars have just, I saw you filming the Hooters commercial earlier this week. You had to be walking on clouds.
Oh, this commercial gig thing, this acting thing's a racket, man. You travel 8 hours round trip to sit on a set for 4.5 hours to do 4 minutes of actual work.
And they pay you pretty well.
Oh, well, I just, that's part of my
They pay you in wings.
Yeah, they asked me to go, I go, it's just another thing I want to help with. But, anytime you get to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, no complaints there. Enjoyed that, and now I'm just ready for another big football weekend. This weekend for us, the Barstool College Football Show is actually headed to Chicago for Notre Dame, Wisconsin.
Nice.
Cool. They're going to be doing a lot of that, so I'm going to have a little more lower key weekend, just watching games Saturday and Sunday at the Gambling House.
We talked to Megan yesterday morning, and she was hopping a flight from Lafayette and heading up to Chicago for the weekend.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't quite make the cut on that one, but I'm hoping, knock on wood, there's rumors. So we're going to Knoxville for Ole Miss, Tennessee, for Lane's return to Knoxville. I haven't been told whether I'm going or not, but I'd like to.
Surely
you got to be in on that trip, bro. Good Lord. How'd we do last weekend? How'd we fare?
They were 3-3 all 3 weeks.
Okay. All right. So
We've
we're
been
9-9.
So we're losing
Yeah, if
money.
we've been anything, we've been consistent.
we just paid the juice. You chill out over there, bro. It's early in the season. We probably hadn't even seen the guy yet. All right, who we like this weekend? Where are we going week one? A little bed music over there, if you don't mind.
So this week, Jordy, is a huge underdog week.
I love it.
Yeah, well, y'all aren't going to love this first one. We're going ahead to starting it. I mean, every gambling trend I've followed for like 20 years loves Mississippi State plus 2.5 tomorrow.
Well, isn't that a bad thing?
What's up?
Isn't that a bad thing for gamblers?
Yeah, I mean, I always look on this show. I always take when a team loses a road favorite outright, I take them as a home underdog. State, I don't even know if you call it a loss last week. What happened at Memphis? But they lost. They're in a bounce back spot. Mike Leach teams are tough underdogs. The 11 a.m. games have not always been kind to LSU. You're dealing with the cowbells. LSU's O-line's. There's a million things I don't like. I mean, I hate it. I literally hope I lose this bet. I want to lose it. Or maybe LSU win by 1 or 2. But I always take these plays, so I'm sticking with it and taking Mississippi State plus 2.5. I think it's a really suckery line to road favorite minus 2.5. So that's my first one.
Mintzy, Lloyd and I were talking early on. What do you think the impact of taking a guy like Stingley off the field in a passing game? I saw where the over-under was somewhere mid-50s in this one. How much is an impact of Stingley, the top corner in the game, being out? What does it do in Vegas?
I mean, it should do something because we all remember when he didn't play last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, granted, I will say Bo Pelini not coaching this defense, thankfully, and so I don't expect 600 yards passing from Will Rogers or anything like that. And LSU's D-lines looked a lot better this year too, but I just don't feel very good about it. And I mean, I think the big problem is LSU's O-line too. I'm really worried. State's tough up front on defense. It has been for years. Second play, going to one of the biggest games in Raleigh, North Carolina in a long time. Clemson looking vulnerable for the first time in a while. They can't move the football. And when I don't know what's happened to Clemson, where's the talent? The line looks bad. They don't have any playmakers or receiver. They didn't replace Etienne. I mean, how do they not have any dudes? I don't understand how that's even possible. Their defense is still really good. But I like NC State getting 9.5. It's going to be a wild atmosphere at Carter Finley Stadium. NC State, I know they had the bad effort in Starkville, but I actually still think they have a good football team. And I think this is going to be kind of like a 2017 game. We're getting 9.5s a lot. So we're going to stick with NC State. It's my second pick. My third play, rivalry game in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Every year when SMU and TCU play, it goes to the wire. So give me the SMU plus 9. SMU got away with murder on that Hail Mary in Ruston last week. Those poor Louisiana Tech fans, they should be 3-0 in the top 25. They're 1-2. Yeah, man, but I like SMU plus 9 here. So we got 3 underdogs.
SMU versus TCU this weekend?
Yeah, SMU plus 9.
The amount of money in the stands there, bro.
Say, the cocaine
Good Lord.
Rich nerds versus rich nerds.
What a party.
Don't try to use a stall.
What a The line's wrapped around the stadium.
Oh, y'all talking about over here.
All right, play 4, Mintzy. Where are we headed?
We're going to NFL. We're going to keep doing 3 college, 3 pro. Just keep it consistent. First pro game. Man, this one's on the team that's in a must-win spot. Vikings kicker Greg Joseph missing that 37-yarder last week in Arizona broke the heart. They're 0-2, and now they're home underdog to Seattle. I mean, they can't go 0-3. And I know Seattle's a good team. Don't get me wrong. Minnesota at home, good home field advantage and a bounce-back spot. I'll give me the Vikings plus 2 against Seattle.
Vikings plus 2, Seattle.
Does that line stink a little bit, Mintz?
I just think I don't think it really stinks. I just think Minnesota's in a must-win spot, and they got a good home field advantage, and I think they bounce back. I think because they're 0-2, but they're not that bad. I mean, they lost in overtime and by 1, to Cincy, and then they should have beaten Arizona. I don't think they're that bad.
Where are we headed next?
We're heading to Sunday Night Football, where Green Bay's at San Francisco. San Fran's a 3.5-point favorite, but if you've watched this series the last few years since Shanahan's been in San Fran just beats the hell out of them. I mean, we all remember the NFC Championship game where Garoppolo threw like 12 passes. They just ran it down their throats. And San Fran's beaten them a couple other times soundly, and I think they just match up well. San Fran's D-line gets the Rodgers and Green Bay's run defense can't stop Shanahan's running game. And so, we're going to just keep riding that train and taking the Niners by 3.5 on Sunday night.
So you like the favorite there?
Yeah, that's my first favorite play of the whole week.
Wow. All right, last one.
Last one's a total. It's Monday Night Football. I like over 52 in Cowboys, the Eagles at Dallas. I think it's going to get wild on that fast track in Dallas. I think Jalen Hurts much more likely to play overs in those turf games running around. Dallas is a high-scoring offense. Both teams played unders last week. Dallas winning 20-17 in L.A., and the Eagles losing 17-11 against San Fran. So I think this is kind of like these games kind of get wild. I think this is like a 34-28 type game. So
Ben Mintz's six-pack recap. He likes Mississippi State hosting LSU. The Dogs getting 2.5 at home. He says play Mike Leach's crew. NC State plus 9.5 versus Clemson. That's a lot of points against a Clemson team that is struggling to move the football offensively. SMU in the Cocaine Bowl. SMU and TCU.
The Gator Bowl.
Yes. SMU plus 9. Minnesota at home. The Vikings on Sunday plus 2. Green Bay Sunday night, the favorite versus San Francisco. Minus 3.5 for Aaron Rodgers.
I like San Fran.
I'm sorry. San Francisco minus 3.5 in that one. And then Monday Night Football, the total plus 52 with Philadelphia and Dallas. Any that were close left on the cutting room floor?
Oh, yeah. Man, I had a tough time. The College Board was just all over the place. This week, Southern Miss plus 45.5 against Alabama got looked at because although Bama just surviving against Florida and his Ole Miss next week, Saban doesn't seem like he cares about covering these big numbers. That one got looked at. I actually think the public's got this A&M Arkansas wrong. Everybody's on Arkansas this week in that game, and I kind of think the other side.
Wow. Yeah, it does feel like Arkansas is getting a lot of love publicly.
Yeah, I just think that you look at Arkansas, and they hammered Texas because Texas is pillow soft at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And Arkansas's also got a great home field in Fayetteville, but A&M's a lot tougher at the line of scrimmage than Texas. And I don't know. I just feel like everybody's like this Arkansas thing. They've definitely improved. Don't get me wrong, but are they number 16 in the country? Good. I don't know. I think that's a little bit of a stretch. So I took a look at that. I think Texas San Antonio. Watch out for them to beat Memphis this weekend. Memphis on the letdown after they beat Mississippi State. That was another one I was looking at. So
any live music this weekend?
Well, there's debate, so I would like to hear y'all's opinion. Debating Jason Isbell at Pier 17 outside tonight.
It'd be tough not to do anything outside in this weather, bro. If it's anything like it is down here, I mean, it's 72 degrees right now in South Louisiana. It feels incredible. What is it like up there in the Northeast?
It's nice. Well, it rained really hard last night, but it's nice now. It's good. I think it's like 70 today. So you know what? I think I got to do it.
Yeah, right.
Especially after
Screw y'all's advice. I'm going.
Smile.
That was easy.
Benny, have a great weekend, buddy. We'll talk next Friday.
Yeah, next week's the big one, guys. Ole Miss Bama stream with Dave and Big Cat, and then next Sunday morning I'm taking the Red Eye to Vegas to play for World Series poker.
Son of a bitch.
I can't wait to watch him in field.
Yeah, this Barstool. I think I'm sitting on something with this poker. Like, I'm the first, real poker pro that's ever played for Barstool. So if I make some World Series poker run,
oh, Mintzy, that could be a rocket launch.
What a shot at
I love Nate. He's great people love working out with him. I just don't think he's a poker pro.
Yes, shots fired. How's the weight training going?
Man, it's going good. This week we're having a great bounce back week, but struggling on these football weekends, guys. This gambling house, they have nothing but pizza and Italian sandwiches, and it's not good. But I've kind of had to I kind of had a little come to Jesus this week. Like, what the hell am I doing? I've worked so hard to get to where I am. I can't blow this. So I've been in there working out and running a lot this week and eating healthier and feeling better. But let's not celebrate every 5 days.
Absolutely.
But I do feel more energy, and my mindset's better than it was a week ago. So
keep up the hard work, bro. We'll talk next Friday. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Thanks for having me.
That was a great one.
Wait, I thought it was you.
That was an extended version of it, bro.
It was. That was a lot of.
Wow, that was a football season outro right there.
That's the Alabama.
That is, a week away from Bama.
No, that's what he sounds like next Friday. What's he doing? We have to know.
What is he doing?
I thought his laugh was great.
The laugh was great.
That was a great laugh. Is there anything better than a gut laugh?
No. And it makes everyone
doesn't
feel better.
that make everybody feel better?
Yes,
yeah,
it does.
I agree.
You can't be in a bad
Jaw
mood.
Saw and Spillers is the dentist over here at Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, make them yours. You can do that by heading out to Gonzales and to Baton Rouge. 2 locations. Let them help you out. General dentistry, pediatric dentistry. All of those are options to you over at Jaw Saw and Spillers. Let them help you out today. Got Facebook, Instagram, all social media over there. Online, jawsawspillers.com.
What do you put on a dentistry Instagram?
People's teeth.
Smiles.
Before and afters?
Smiles.
You'll be on there.
You
No,
will
I'm
be
not.
on there. You
I'm not
absolutely
signing the waiver.
You're gonna be on there. You have to.
I should be going back to the dentist here pretty soon.
I wondered if you're gonna go back. You're just gonna rock that thing.
I think I've been through the worst part, though.
Yeah,
is what
you
they
have.
told me.
It's like
You
almost like blended in.
Yeah,
Like it's taken.
kind of.
It's taken.
Soon
Thing might stick.
as soon as it looks natural, then they got to bust it out again.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Back to Smoothie King.
All right, so what's the deal? We're dressing up on Monday because I feel like I'm going to be dressed like a pirate.
Yeah, you're
No,
dressing
that's
up
not-
like a
that's not-
pirate. It's only if you lose.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like I'm going to be dressed up.
Yeah, I already ordered part of my costume because even if I don't wear it on Monday, I've already decided this is what I'm being for Halloween.
Coach O, what are you
Absolutely.
going to do? Are you going to go like in a bikini top?
No, Jordy.
Well, I mean,
Does Coach O wear a bikini top?
well, I mean, he just doesn't
Shirtless.
wear shirts.
You can get the nipples
No,
covers.
actually, I ordered one of those shirts that looks like a bear man's chest. That's like shiny, like tan bear man's
Yes.
chest.
Yes.
But I think I need to get like a Cane's
That's perfect.
box. I need to do
Yeah.
some other things too.
Cane's box.
I'm
Lather yourself in sauce.
Yeah.
Coleslaw. And
Dump coleslaw all over
he's a
me.
big coleslaw guy.
I know. So,
Fake tan?
well, I mean, the chest shirt thing is already very fake tan looking.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think I need fake tan other than that.
Do you go? I mean, you have to be able to rip your shirt off, so you might have to get 2.
Oh,
'Cause,
okay.
I mean, that's the move. That's
Yeah,
Coach O's
isn't it?
move is to rip. You cut a little circle in there, then you.
You can see the rip when you put it on
can't-
the
if-
night.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, he's a strong man. I imagine
Right.
he could.
Yeah.
But you got to give that thing just a little seam to get out
Yeah.
there. Then you can.
Yeah,
Once you get
really
that,
easy.
once you
I
get
would
that
have to
scene,
Once
have
you get that hole, you hit
yeah,
it.
it's over.
I
man.
would have to have a little hole to rip. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no way
Yeah.
I could do that on my own.
For sure.
They're like
The
struggling.
things you say on this show are
We get it.
I
unbelievable.
know, y'all. I
We get
really
it.
do walk right into it. It seems like all the time.
All right. It plays for the crowd.
Hole to
It
rip.
does seem to.
I love Mintz's plays this weekend.
I do too.
That NC State plus 9.5 looks very enticing. Clemson is just, I'm with him.
Yeah,
Like I watched
me too.
Clemson the other day. I'm like, where are all these guys that have been sliding down the slide and going to buy into the family? I mean, like all these recruits I've been hearing about. This is what they look like post Trevor Lawrence.
Have you seen the video of Dabo? And credit to Brendan Walker.
Yes.
Sprinting.
Barstool. He's
I
made
saw
that
that
thing all
last
about
night.
himself. Like the Brendan Walker's exactly right. He is the first one out, and he is 100% sprinting
It's all
down the
about him.
Clemson rock, like touches the rock, and he goes. You're not even looking at the team.
I know.
The team has to wait for him to go. It's unbelievable what Dabo has done to that tradition because that's who he is.
He is.
He is that person.
He is
where it's
absolutely
like, this
that
is
person.
about me.
That's
I
too
built
bad.
this. And yeah, it's kind of sad.
It is.
And
It
it,
is
makes
sad.
me want them to be bad. Like,
Well,
the
it looks like
Dabo's-
your wish is coming-
Yeah, the
coming
Dabo
true.
story is just too much
It
because
is.
that just one video, they have a camera following him like it's Joe Burrow
Yeah.
out the tunnel at Texas A&M. I mean, against
Gross.
Texas A&M. Have you not seen it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh.
God, I hope they hire him at Alabama.
Yeah, it's strange.
I hope that he is the next guy at Alabama.
The ego on that
That'd be
man.
weird.
That is disgusting.
It's about the team.
Anybody see this Pardon the Interruption documentary that they're putting together over at ESPN?
No.
I watched the 4-part documentary Once Upon a Time in Queens about the 86 Mets. Do yourself a favor, bro. Lloyd, you would love
A lot of
the
greenies.
86 Mets. I mean, those guys were shit.
Sounds like the
My
softball
favorite team of the
I played
80s,
on.
bro.
Yes.
My favorite team of the 80s.
Yeah, for reasons you
I
didn't even
mean,
know.
like, these cats were just animals. I mean, they were. There's no way you could do anything that they did present day and got away with. But I mean, it's just far as like some legendary stories, some legendary characters, some figures. I mean, Doc Gooden, Darryl Strawberry, Keith Hernandez, Lenny Dykstra,
a wild person.
Nails, Kevin Mitchell. I mean, just incredible documentary over on the 86 Mets. They're making one about Pardon the Interruption, the television show formed by Michael Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser. two Hall of Fame journalists. I know Michael Wilbon went into the NBA or the basketball Hall of Fame as a journalist. And Kornheiser is so well respected within the trade. And they came up with a television show. I'm sure if you're listening to this show, if you're watching this show, you have all seen Pardon the Interruption on ESPN. It's been around for 20 years and has really set the standard in talk show television, really, talk show sports television. And some of behind-the-scene looks and conversations with people like Tony Reale, Dan Le Batard, people that have been very instrumental in watching that show grow. A part of that show's growth is now in production and set to launch, I believe, like in early October. Like it's set to come out here pretty quick. I think that show revolutionized the way that people talk about sports. It has set us up even for what we do now. Look at the border of our show.
It's the rundown.
Look at the border of our setup of how we are presented every single day. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or JordyCulottaShow.com, that border, that date, that time is all robbed from Pardon the Interruption and the way they started 20 years ago. They were doing that 20 years ago. They were the first to bring you the topics with a timer and debate between two plugged-in journalists that really could professionally debate. I mean, it was gonna, it would get close to the edge. It would never go down and blow up into flames.
Well, I think the biggest part of that was the timer.
The timer.
Because
the timer.
You couldn't disappear
as soon as it was about to get there.
Yeah, you couldn't disappear.
It was on to the
your
next
own
topic.
Asshole. You're like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
But I would argue that it's also as revolutionary as it's been. It's also set back what sports shows are supposed to be, almost to the point where it's devolved to what it could have been. Because off of Pardon the Interruption, you get First Take. Like, it's turned into these shows where it has to be two people going back and forth about things that aren't really a debate. And you're like, what am I watching here?
I mean, Stephen A. Smith and Keyshawn Johnson was birthed because of PTI 20 years ago.
Right.
I mean, that show is nothing but a present day trying to reinvent what those guys have captured and do every day and still steamroll the competition. I mean, that show is... It's revolutionary. It is an outlier. It's the exception to the rule. I mean, it is. The trailer looks awesome because it's a lot of
behind the scenes stuff.
But it's a lot of the naysayers early on saying this is never going to work. And never are you going to be able to pull two newspaper writers in and put them on television. One bald and white, one bald and black, and put them in the same room and have them debate on, just
anything.
On anything. I mean, how is this going to work? And the way that they would dress up and not take themselves as serious, and the segments, they've been, more than anything, they've been able to relate to a crowd and stick.
Yeah.
I mean, they continue to roll demographics. I mean, they probably started. I mean, when it started, I was in college, and I was watching in college. I'm just as intrigued as a dad and a guy paying a mortgage going to work every day of PTI than when I was, laying around smoking weed all day. You know what I mean? Like not doing anything.
Nice.
Not doing anything,
Yeah,
right?
they've kept it relevant.
Just waking up and going to watch PTI.
Starts at 1 p.m.
Right. So I can't wait to watch the documentary. I think if ESPN has done anything really well in kind of this expansion of the ESPN brand of, into all types of different stuff, the documentary series, the E60 stuff, is really good. I mean, it's really, really good stuff. And the 30 for 30s are fantastic. And the documentaries, like I said, that Once Upon a Time in Queens, if you're just a sports fan, and I love teams, right? Like to me, I am always kind of been enamored by teams in sports, the good, great teams that you could follow and watch. And obviously the Bulls teams growing up had everybody captured in my age demographic, but some of of these other teams that have gone on and had uber success that stand out. You know what I mean? Like the Lawrence Taylor's New York Giants and some of those stories that have come out from those teams. When I was up in Chicago for a summer working an internship, people would always talk about the 85 Bears, and just talk about how great of a team and great of dudes they were and the stories that were coming out. I mean, this Mets team, like they wouldn't get along with everybody.
But they got along with each other.
But they were
they
had a guy like Gary Carter on that team who was, he prayed every day before the game. His nickname was the Kid. He was as pure of a human as he was a baseball player, and he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, the guy was best catcher maybe ever. And Lenny Dykstra tells a story about coming in one night.
Wait, is he in it?
Lenny Dykstra? He's on the team, bro.
No, I know that, but do they interview him for the documentary?
Yes.
Oh God, he's a wild person.
A wild man. Like he can't. He's slurring.
Yeah,
he's slurring on the documentary.
He hasn't changed since '86.
No. He just celebrated on Twitter 40 months of not being arrested. Like he's openly saying I'm
not being arrested.
Yeah, this guy is a.
Why does he get arrested so often?
Name it. Everything from tax evasion to prostitution. I mean, he's gotten arrested for everything. And he has been like an open partier his whole life. I mean,
That's funny.
Give me the party. And like Gary Carter was, they get off the bus, he'd grab his stuff, he'd go to the hotel, eat his meal, and he was upstairs in bed asleep. But Gary Carter was like freakishly, like he was like a freak of nature baseball player. I mean, he was a catcher in the 80s and looked like the Incredible Hulk. You know what I mean? I mean, he was just, his forearms looked like Popeye. And Dykstra comes in one night. He's like, we're partying our ass off somewhere, and I'm standing next to the kids' room, and I'm walking down the hall, and somebody dares me to knock on his door. And I look at him, and I just say, fuck it. I just start kicking his door. Kicking his door. He's like, I didn't even see Kid open the door. Next thing you know, he had taken me. I was 3 feet off the ground, looked me in my eyes, and said, I'll kill you tonight, Kid. He said he threw me up against the wall. I'm laying down. I just crawled back to my room, and the guys are all sitting there like, you crazy mother blazer. I mean, just Dykstra telling stories is just, it's unreal, man. I mean, the story. Doc Gooden missed the championship parade. Because after Game 6 of the finals, he went and met his drug dealer and partied all night and slept through the parade.
Stop it.
I mean, which one could you pick?
I mean,
it sounds like his own parade.
It's amazing. Like two of the pitchers' wives showed up to the parade, and this is '86. Nobody's got a cell phone. You know what I mean? Like nobody's got
beeping each other.
Yeah, like nobody's got anything. And he calls the organization. They're somewhere in New York.
In a borough.
You know what I mean? Like where they shouldn't be, bro. And
Harlem Nights.
I mean, it's just, you have to watch it. You have to watch. I can't do it any justice by telling the story.
Yeah, I wouldn't have really watched it until you just talked about it.
But it's a 4-part series now. Mm-hmm. It's 4-part. It tells the story of drafting Doc and Strawberry, acquiring Keith Hernandez.
And Lenny.
How they got Lenny Dykstra. Lenny Dykstra made the Mets on an open tryout. Showed up on an open tryout, and he said Lenny Dykstra was 5'7", 100, at the time it was 150 pounds, and his name wasn't on the list. And there's about 120 kids there, 120 guys there. They came and showed up for an open tryout for the New York Mets. The owner or the GM says, "What's your name?" He says, "My name's Lenny fucking Dykstra, and I'm the best player at this motherfucker." And they're looking around, they're like, who is this guy?
Grab a bat.
Yeah, who is this guy? Go out there, they're within 30 seconds, they were like,
he's right.
He's so fast. He was so fast, and he was relentless. You know what I mean? He wasn't not going to make the team.
He would have kept showing up if he didn't make the roster.
Yes.
He would just
absolutely.
It's a lot I guess that's where Major League gets the Willie Mays Hayes thing. He just shows up. It has to be.
It felt very when I saw that, I was like, okay.
I get it.
Yeah, this is Willie Mays Hayes, and then he gets out there and sprints and races, and they're like, "You better get this guy in uniform."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Shit.
Yeah, right.
Hayes.
Willie Mays Hayes. You may run like Hayes, but you hit like shit.
Movies all time.
It's all timer. Every line Lou Brown says you could quote.
In a heart attack.
Yeah, every
A lot of people
line Lou Brown says. Is this Lou Brown? Yeah? How'd you like to manage the Cleveland Indians? Oh, I don't know. I got a guy on the other line about some white walls. Can I call you back? Remember he's in that tire shop when he takes the call? And the guy's on the other line. All right.
Oh, good. We'll get back to him.
Have y'all taken any calls today yet?
No, no calls. We need to make a call here. We got to call Nathan.
Oh, yeah, we call Nathan.
Remember, daily on the Jordy Culotta Show, we're brought to you by Edward Jones. Get in touch with Daniel Newman. Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com. Let him become your financial advisor. He is ours, and it has been great to work with Daniel as he has provided some tremendous success in just a short time in dealing with Daniel over there at Edward Jones. Very easy to work with out in central Louisiana. Stop in and see him. Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com. Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com. He's out there in Central. Let's talk to Nate Dogg and close out the Friday next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Driven and powered every day by Go Chevrolet. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU bluewater.com. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Ghost Chevrolet. Stop in and see our crew over there. Nick Richard was looking for a copy of the print for Jamar C. Did you get it to him?
I directed him to our website.
Good stuff today from Ben Mintz. If you missed it, check it out online at jordyculotta.show.com. All of our stuff brought back to you by RMB Builders, and we are brought to you daily by Cajun Ready Mix Concrete. Get in touch with Cajun Ready Mix Concrete, as you can find them online at CajunRMC.com. Residential, commercial, industrial, or municipal concrete needs are ready for you over at Cajun Ready Mix, as they provide ready mix concrete products and services to meet all of your concrete needs. At Cajun, they are ready for your business today. They guarantee that all of the deliveries will be completed on time and to the exact specifications. They've got 9 plants around the greater Baton Rouge area, which means they'll be on time. And if it's not working, they can get back to the plant pretty quick and get it back over to the job site. High quality products, grade A equipment, clear safety standards, all over at Cajun Ready Mix. CajunRMC.com is where you can find them online. Nathan Velasquez joins us every Friday as he gives us the latest on Hollywood, and it is good to patch back up with him on a Friday morning. Nate, good morning. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. How's it going over there?
Doing good, buddy. It is 72 degrees. It is a beautiful fall morning here in
Nice.
South Louisiana. What's the weather? Mincy said it rained up in New York last night, but it should set up for a pretty nice day.
It was actually, we had a storm come through here pretty much. It was a little rough, but no, I mean, the weather today, beautiful. I'm ready just for the first weekend of fall, really. It feels like it. It feels like today's setting us up for it.
It does. Nathan, did anybody care about the Emmys? Did anybody watch the Emmys? It was going on in one room in the house that I was in on Sunday night. I was paying more attention to the football aspect of what was happening, but I was a little even surprised that we had it on at the house as Kelly was watching a little bit of it. What were the numbers like from last week's event?
I'm surprised you had it on.
I agree.
This is the first year. Yeah, this is the first year where I'm kind of not even feeling the award thing. Like people don't watch these, which, kind of ruins the notoriety that goes into the awards. But I mean, on the side of, the producers, people looking at the Emmys, they did go up. They went up a little bit. I think they were under like 5 million last year, which is like absolutely catastrophic for not just an award show, anything that's on network television. That's absolutely dreadful. And this year it did go up. It went up about 1.5 million viewers, which even still, like if you look at the history of how these shows and awards have been viewed, that's still not good. That's still not good at all. Like there's not the level of prestige around awards. It just doesn't. It feels like there's a total disconnect. Some of the videos that were coming out of there, and it just looks like you're watching people take part in this massive party, and there's not a lot of reason for the everyday person to really get all that worked up over award shows, I think.
Also, right now, Hollywood seems like the majority of the business is on strike, right?
It's about to go on strike. So about 160,000 workers, which is going to be well over half of everyone that didn't show up at the Emmys, everyone that wasn't invited, everyone that carries all the heavy equipment, everyone that's in charge of the cameras, everyone in the editing department, everyone in the pre-production department, the costume department, everyone that actually does the work to make things happen. They are, I think it is now a little over a week before their union is going to vote to put everyone on strike, which is going to instantaneously shut everything down. So there's some hell broiling over in Hollywood right now.
What do you make of Netflix buying $1 billion worth of studio space in the UK?
I don't know if everything that's going on feels a little bit like there's a shift going on. Like everything is happening from the whole pandemic era of making everyone kind of rethink how they do business. I think this is just one more small piece in it, like putting together Netflix buying $1 billion worth of studio in the UK. The UK is known for having much easier work environments, for being a little bit more friendly to everyone, like creative, technical, business. And it's I don't know what it means. It's a huge move. It's a huge move because a streamer is doing it. And I think pairing this with the strike because if the strike happens, you're going to see, I think, so many people just either go somewhere else or leave the industry. I think that it's a huge deal because I think it's part of a whole feeling of Hollywood losing its ownership of the West Coast being where you make content. Yeah. It's strange. It's strange.
It does feel like there's a transition there for sure. Movie of the week over at the 5 Minute Critic. Is it The Card Counter?
The Card Counter with Oscar Isaac. It's about a gambler. You find out more and more about what's going on. His past starts coming back to haunt him. His entire job is nothing but being on the road, going from city to city, doing nothing but counting cards, gambling, and then he comes up against a group of people that kind of reminds him of the past he's trying to escape from, and then that just progresses him further and further into his own personal hell. It's very dramatic, slightly intense, but if you're a fan of that, this is from the writer of Taxi Driver. So if you're a fan of that type of descent into madness type of feel, it's an enjoyable watch.
Descent into madness. Have you seen The Seaman? I'm not going to say the thing, but it's a movie. Candyman, have you seen it? I'm terrified.
Don't say it a few times. Yeah. I was say, what are you talking about?
I've grown to call it The Seaman because I don't even want to talk about it.
I did. I saw it, and it is creepy. It's gross. Did anyone here see it?
Hell no.
I did.
Hell no.
We watched it the other night.
And
Katie, I love you're watching Malignant. You're watching Candyman. What's up with these guys? They can't watch any of these
horror movies? My husband loves horror movies, and I do too. So yeah, we get into it.
Disgusting.
Awesome. What did you guys think of? What did y'all think of the movie? I thought it was gross. I thought it was fun and creepy.
It was really gross. But it was fun. I mean, I liked it.
So it was gross. Is it more gore than actually scary?
Yeah, to me, it wasn't scary. It was more gory.
There is a good bit of suspense in it, and I think there's certain parts that it gets like there's something like Saw, which kind of throws everything in your face, and it's kind of like silly. Yeah. This one they were much more creative in the way that they take everyone out, and the ways that they find to do that are really, really, really unnerving. So if that's your type of thing, that creeped me out.
Yeah.
Very diplomatic there, Nathan. At 5 Minute Critic is where you can find him on Twitter. You can keep up with all the posts, all of the reviews. Make sure you are subscribed to his YouTube channel, as that is easy to find as well. That's 5 Minute Critic, all spelled out. 5 Minute Critic, as you can learn the breakdowns, and you can catch him every Friday right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We always appreciate it. Have a great weekend, buddy.
Well, and Jordy, before I'm out of here, a piece of news that I think is gonna appeal to you more so. Whoopi Goldberg signed on for another 3 seasons of The View, and I know that was a guilty pleasure of yours. Yes. So I just wanted to get out of here with that.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you for exposing my love of The View, you bastard.
You're like the guy in Longest Shard smoking the cigarette. I love this shit.
Wait, did you really watch The View?
No,
oh, okay.
No, I don't know what that was about. It was just Nathan trying to troll us on the way out on this Friday.
That's a great peek into Nathan's sense of humor.
It is. That is his sense of humor right there.
The View.
Good stuff from Nate here on this Friday. Remember, we're brought to you by Go Chevrolet. Check them out online at GAUXchevrolet.com. I kind of do.
I felt like
I'm kind of thinking back in my past. Did I ever go through a View? Did I ever go through a View era? You know what I mean? Did I ever show up to the radio show one day and be like, I can't believe what Whoopi was talking about around the table yesterday?
That's what I thought was going on.
Nate's on the computer going, excuse me?
Yeah, I don't know.
God, that show's terrible.
I think he's definitely fucking with us bad.
I love it though.
All right, let's make our picks here. I'm picking Mississippi State. I think y'all are gonna win the game, Katie. I'm not trolling you. I'm not trying to mess with you.
I mean, I've been thinking that actually for a little while.
LSU is -2.5, which feels like a sucker bet.
But I felt like that before Stingley, so just putting that out there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Saying my opinion, I have the right to do that, right?
That's fair.
Yeah, of course. I thought I'd love to hear more.
That's all I want to say about it.
Stingley was the tipping point for me. I thought there was an outside chance that Mississippi State could pull a quote-unquote upset, but it's just the last thing LSU needed in terms of morale and everything with that team. That this could be just the last oar to hit a rock, and now you can't paddle.
Yeah, that's so doom and gloom, though. I mean, we're only in week 4. There's so much time left.
There's
so
terrifying.
many games left.
Yes. that this thing could turn into a tremendously long season.
Yeah, we thought it was going fast, and now it might be coming to a crawl here the next 8 weeks.
I know I said at the beginning of the segment that I thought LSU was going to win, but the more you talk this thing out, the more you think of it.
Wait, today?
Yeah, I did at the beginning of the show.
So you've changed through the show?
Well, throughout the week, I thought that LSU would win the game. And what is it even like the Stingley news that really flipped me?
It has to be.
Well, I mean, it means something, but it doesn't make me change my decision on who's going to win the game. I just think that LSU's heading in the wrong. They just feel like they're just not checked in. They're just not.
They're not as. They're people. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, but the Central Michigan game, people put a ton of stock in, and that's one game against not a very good team that I thought, like even last week, I thought that LSU could have lost, and it was 28-point game. That's a solid win, but it's not groundbreaking in any sense. And then you're rolling into SEC play, and there's not really a whole lot to put confidence in.
Yeah.
What's our phone number?
Our phone number is 225-229-7741. I'll stick it here in the bunker too.
225-229-7741. Plug that into your phone. I'll give you 5 minutes here. The last 5 minutes of the show here, we'll open up the phone lines. If it rings, we'll bring somebody in. If you got a thought on the weekend, you got a thought on the game, if you got a thought on LSU, holler in here on this Friday.
Give us your predictions.
Give us a prediction. And we will we'll cut out of here on this Friday. We'll be back with you tomorrow, obviously, for our post-game show. And we'll be watching the fourth quarter with you. Rohan will be here. We'll be talking about that. We're hopefully going to go out to some high school action tonight. Edna Carr is in town taking on Scotlandville here in Baton Rouge.
That sounds like someone's grandmother is in town every time you say
Edna
that.
Carr?
Like, Edna Carr's in town, you guys.
Might have been one time.
Yeah.
That's all I think about. Like, Edna's coming.
Warren Easton. Warren Easton and Edna Carr are in town.
Sounds like a marriage.
It does.
Your aunt, your uncle, and your grandmother.
Yes.
Uncle Warren and
That's right.
Uncle Warren and Aunt Edna.
Uncle Lee.
Uncle Lee.
I was laughing when you said that earlier when I was in carpool. I was like,
Warren Easton?
Edna Carr. No, Edna Carr.
No call.
How do you feel about it?
What, the phone calls?
The game.
The Edna Carr game?
Oh, which one? LSU?
Yeah.
I don't feel good about it. I've wanted to believe that LSU could kind of get some momentum rolling into, like I said, building off the Central Michigan win. But the Stingley thing just seems like the straw that broke the camel's back. You don't want to put a lot of stock in it, but it's just when you lose your absolute best player, like Keyshawn Butte is obviously their best offensive player, but just Stingley all around, and he never got to really get on. There's so much untapped potential in what he's done because they didn't let him return kicks this year or return punts. And it just seems like he never got to really be what we thought he would be, even though it was all there. And it just seems like this is like, and now we're losing him for the rest of the year if you're on the team. So it just seems like something that would not boost your confidence going to an 11 a.m. kick. And it's like, it makes it very easy to give up on the game against somebody like Mike Leach that's going to throw it 70 times at you. And you can just point back to one player not being there. It's like, well, if Singh was there, it would be easier to win the game.
Rob Sense. Get in the car, Edna.
That's what it sounds like. Here's Edna. Get her walker. In
Brian Burgess says, do you feel like LSU is on the edge of another dark age? I think that Scott Woodward sees that there is going to be a shift in the power structure of the Southeastern Conference as early as next season if Texas and Oklahoma get into the conference, as late as 3 years from now if they come in at 2025. And he understands that he has got to align himself. He's got to set himself in the direction to stay at the forefront of the SEC.
Getting a call.
And I think that he knows that Orgeron is not the leader that is the guy to do that, and that he's got to act pretty quick because there is potential that if LSU continues to slide, and I think that it could get worse on the field before it gets better this season under Orgeron, that you may do some long-term damage. This recruiting class in the state of Louisiana is a must-get. The 2022 class of Louisiana alone, just Louisiana, Quincy Wiggins, Walker Howard, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Jacoby Matthews, Shaz Preston, all these guys are must-gets for LSU. And don't think that Saban, Smart, Fisher, Kiffin, Mullen, and crew don't see blood and smell blood in the water right now with what LSU is leaking out of their program. I mean, LSU feels like they are they're just not right. In Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas, Texas A&M, Florida, Georgia, Arkansas is selling that message. Who we got?
Nashville.
Jason from Nashville,
Hey,
bro.
Jason.
Thank you for listening. How do you take the show? Do you watch on YouTube, Facebook, or the online on the website?
YouTube when I'm not working. I work night shift, so I'll catch the podcast.
Nice, man. Thanks for staying up with us this morning. What you got? What's your take? What's your you got a question or you got a thought?
Man, I think I'm gonna call LSU by 7. I think it's gonna be mainly linebacker play. I think Baskerville's gonna have a big game. Maybe Mike Jones.
Who? Jason, what do you think? How big of an impact does Stingley not playing have on the game?
I think it's going to be pretty big, but I mean, he's gone next year anyway, so they got to find somebody to take his spot. So I think this is a big game for somebody to step in and fill those shoes to see what we're going to have for next year.
Jason, appreciate you representing LSU up in the Nashville area, but appreciate you more checking in with us and listening every day, man. Thank you, and tell a friend about it and come back and call in when we open up down the line. Good to hear from you.
Oh, man. Y'all too. Y'all have a good one.
There is, look at some birds. Must be a beautiful morning in Nashville.
Bluebird day in Nashville.
Beautiful day up in that. Wow.
Some loud birds.
That is some
Wait,
loud
are those
birds,
our
bro.
birds
I
or
don't know. It's his
birds?
birds. Yes.
Do you think he owns birds?
No, I think he's sitting on a
Maybe he
deck.
works in a
Hey,
Jason, do you own
aviary.
birds?
did you replay that? Oh, he's
No,
still
I'm sitting
there.
outside.
Okay. All right. Beautiful day in Nashville. Thank you, buddy. See ya.
All right, man. Y'all have a good one.
That is incredible.
I kind of want to go LSU.
Jason, right. Brian Burgess says Ogeron's an average coach at best, just his feeling. That's kind. Brian, I think that, look, I'm not here to dump on Ogeron, and I'm not here to give my stance. I think everybody knows where I stand. But the formula on Ogeron has to be the CEO model in which he agreed to when he took the job and to bring in the best people on both sides of the ball to keep this thing moving. It's obvious when he doesn't have the right guys around him that he is not going to succeed. And I'm not saying that Jake Peets and Durante Jones can't coach it at this level. But first-time play callers that you are, you're pretty much putting your life on. I mean, your professional life rides on the people that you hire. And he, outside of Joe Brady 1 year and Dave Aranda for the first couple of years he was here on defense, he has just been swinging and missing on a lot of stuff. And, the representation has not been up to par. And Scott Woodward knows that. He sees that. I mean, if anybody has followed, watched, looked at the way that Scott Woodward leads, it's very obvious this is not the type of leader that he likes in line for his programs. Just, it's not his deal. So
I feel kind of sad that people are being so mean about Mississippi State, though.
how are they?
I mean, who is it in here? Mississippi effing State. Since when are we scared of them?
Nobody's scared of them.
I know
man.
last year was like kind of a fluke, but like
Nobody's scared of them.
remember
LSU is
2017?
in a bad headspace going into the game. LSU could win. LSU
LSU could
man on man, 11 on 11, 22 on 22 is a better team. LSU has better players.
Yeah,
I mean, that you can't argue that.
right. No one's arguing that.
But the headspace that they are traveling into Starkville with is shaky, fragile, and its confidence is leaking right now. So it's gonna be a fascinating game. It really is.
I want to go back to the coordinator talk that you were just having. Is there an opportunity where you don't get rid of O and the staff just because there's been so much turnover? Do you not want to see a Jake Peets and Durante Jones grow into this role a little bit, like a 3-year plan?
Do you have
with
the
all
time?
of them? What else do you do? Do you go into a next season with 2 more new coordinators, possibly a new head coach? Like if Coach O stays, I'd imagine he brings Durante Jones and Jake Peets back, correct? Like you have to give them the opportunity to
I'm
grow
sure
into
you can't
the role.
you can't have
Turnover every year. That's what I'm saying.
Turnover.
People are complaining about the offensive defensive coordinators, and they're not ready for the role. But at some point, you have to realize it's a little bit of a rebuild on that side of the ball. If you're going to hire young, this is the chance you get to keep people and grow into what LSU is, and kind of create a culture of their own, right?
You would think so. But you also have to be smart enough to understand what you're looking at is never going to work. And it's not Jake Peetz and Durante Jones' fault. It's the head coach's fault. That's what I think Scott Woodward is looking at. I don't think that you can argue Jake Peetz knowing football. I don't think you can argue Durante Jones knowing the game. The fact is that the first-time play callers at this level with Ed Ogeron playing and living in a situation where, I mean, his life is on the line.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's you've got to prove yourself to show that you're the long-term fit for LSU's head coach. And whether it's been, the PR or the hiring or the on-the-field product now for the last 2 years, it's trending in the wrong direction. And Scott Woodward knows that he's either got to damn that, he's got to stop that somehow within, or he's just got to blow the thing up and go make the right hire. And I think that they've tried and exhausted as many conversations with him as they can on how to represent the program, the state, and LSU football, along with making the best hires and putting the best product on the field. And, if one thing's not adding up, the other thing is, it's just that he's never been able to align all three of them at once. And I think that he's going to have to.
If it does go that direction, this has to be the last hire for a second, right? LSU can't keep just shelling out dollar after dollar. Scott Woodward almost has to get it right
He has to get it right.
So
if they don't get it right, they fall to middle latter part of the pack of the SEC. You're Tennessee.
Yeah.
You're Tennessee, Florida State.
Or LSU wins and rolls off 8 in a row, and we don't even have to.
Yeah,
have
we
this
look like
conversation
dumbasses.
again.
Yeah, right. All right. Have a good Friday. We'll be back with
one
you.
caller. Jeez.
Nice.
That's good. Yeah,
Jason from Nashville. It's a new thing. People are
It is a new
timid.
thing.
People are at work, is what we didn't really think about.
Y'all are at work?
Screw your
What do y'all
boss.
do all day?
All right. Have a good Friday. We'll be in touch. Make sure you're following us on social media. Anything that we have, we'll be giving you an alert and letting you know that we're coming up. Check out the store at jordy.itemorder.com. You can check that out at jordyculotta.show.com. Have a good Friday. We'll be back with you on Saturday talking LSU Mississippi State and reacting to the game.